Hello and welcome to the Mount Rushmore podcast. My name is Jeff and I'm joined, as always, by my good friends Richard.
Hello.
And Michael.
Howdy.
Richard and Michael normally spend all their time, all their waking hours locked in discussion, discourse, debate over the top 4 things that represent a certain topic. And this week is different. It is a little bit different because the holiday season, it's a time where wonder and holiday joy is in the air. And Michael and Richard aren't going to be locked in angry debate. They're going to be locked in a holiday, wonderful, happy debate about the 4 things that best represent this topic, which is must-have holiday toys. Michael, you picked it. Why?
I love toys.
You like toys.
I love them. I like unboxing them. I like unwrapping the toys. I like losing pieces within the first couple of hours.
Yeah. Do you like Christmas morning? Do you like?
I love Christmas morning. Yeah. I love it when my He-Man's battle axe falls right into the grate, the heater grate, and I lose it within, seriously, 2 hours of getting that really awesome combination pack of He-Man and Battle Cat while we were up at Christmas one Christmas, up in Lake Arrowhead, and I'm not...
Oh my God!
I'm not sad about this at all, guys.
Okay.
Richard,
we can get you a new one. We can get you a new one. It's fine.
I'm ordering on eBay right now, and
it's 12 cents.
Oh my God, 12 cents.
But the emotional impact has lasted for 33 years.
Yeah, there's been a He-Man battle axe sized hole in your heart.
But no, I came up with this because it's Christmas, and I thought, oh my God, we gotta talk about toys that are so prevalent on a bunch of little kids that aren't listening to this podcast's minds.
So, okay, Michael, your choice. Richard, go first. What do you got?
All right. So, much like Michael, I have 4 categories this week.
No, I don't have categories this week. I went straight.
What just happened here? Wait,
in the Christmas spirit, I have given you the gift of making things into a category.
So, my 4 categories this week. Pause because my computer is frozen. My 4 categories this week are stuffed toys for girls, non-stuffed toys for boys, Smarty Pants stuff, and what the fuck? So I'm gonna...
the popular Toys R Us aisle. What the fuck that your kid's just wandering down? Why am I covered in this green gunk? What the fuck?
What the fuck? Are you serious? What the fuck?
So for the stuffed toys for girls, I went ahead and chose, I think this is the obvious choice, the gift that basically invented Black Fridays and people getting punched in the face for a toy. The Cabbage Patch Kid.
Good parents make Cabbage Patch Kid.
The Cabbage Patch Kids. Each doll is different, and you can pretend to adopt them.
My baby has a real diaper.
You can love and care.
Oh, well.
I would also argue not just for girls, because I had 2 of them, and fuck you for getting all sexist with this.
What?
Listen, Clifford was a great toy.
Was he?
Yes, he was. I had a second one whose name I can't.
You were supposed to have a My Buddy.
Oh. Well,
that was made for you.
For the record, the Cabbage Patch Kids are also on my list, as they should be.
Yeah, I mean that was
ubiquitous.
What's that?
So these now
ubiquitous was the name of one of the Cabbage Patch Kids. Ubiquitous Clifford.
Nelson, yeah. So basically, the Cabbage Patch Kids saved Coleco. I didn't realize there was a Coleco thing, and after the whole video game collapse, the whole ColecoVision stock went.
Wow.
And so this was this thing that they had. They just sort of found, and it was originally called Little People. And they were hand stitched, and they were just like these ugly face looking dolls. I mean, they didn't do anything special.
Mm-hmm. No. They listen.
But they came from the Cabbage Patch.
That's right.
And they had their own birth certificate, so you could adopt your Cabbage Patch Kid.
It was an important little ritual for moms and kids to go through, where you felt a sense of family and a sense of ownership. And even though each of these dolls had Xavier Roberts' name tattooed on its butt somehow, and they never really explained the branding of that poor child that came from the Cabbage Patch.
Right.
They all came out. It wasn't just a doll that looked like every doll didn't look like every other doll. You weren't buying a whatever doll, a Sally doll. You were getting a doll that had a first and a middle name, that had very special clothing and different eye color, and all of them felt different. So it was a very individual toy to get, which probably went was why they cost $50 to $100 back in the 80s, which was
insane.
crazy.
It was insane.
Crazy.
And
For a doll, yeah.
for anything. I mean, nothing costs that much in the 80s. I think with inflation, you could get a car for like $10.
I had a pair of Jordache jeans.
Oh,
No, I didn't.
what was the only thing between you and your Jordache jeans?
Nothing.
His Xavier
Brooke
Roberts
Shields.
tattoo on his back. my sister, I probably had one of these because my sister, who's a few years older than me, had one. She had her name was Rochelle Alexine. I called my sister to find out what the name of her Cabbage Patch was.
I thought you were saying your sister's name was Rochelle.
No, my sister Vanessa. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Had Rochelle Alexine, and she also had.
Rochelle.
They also went into a strange. They had like dog versions and cat versions.
Wow.
Called let's see, they were called the Kusa, and she can't remember the name of whatever her dog version was. But like,
Right.
we had them, and I probably looked up to her and was like, my sister's carrying around one of these, and it was okay for a boy to carry one around, and not.
Was it?
I don't know why
Was
it
it?
wouldn't be.
Listeners,
Well, I'm not saying it's
write
right.
in your
I'm not,
opinion.
I'm not saying it's right that it wasn't, but I don't know any boys who had a
I had a
Cabbage Patch.
I think it sold so much because it was something guys had too. Because if you adopted a boy doll, then
Yeah.
you were okay.
And,
Huh.
maybe, I mean, okay, I had a huge, like, stuffed animal collection growing up. I had monkeys and dogs and whole sorts of, like, I had a whole, half of my bed was filled with these goddamn things.
we grew up.
They're
We
full
grew
of
up very
fleas.
differently, Michael.
I guess so.
I guess, of course, the reason we talk about this is not just because it was a toy doll, but because it became a craze.
Sure.
Some might say
yes.
a mania.
Yes.
I mean, to the point where in 19
They wrestled
Yeah,
in the
19
middle of Madison Square Garden. In the first one.
Pretty much they did, except instead of it's more of a battle royal.
Yeah.
Where the people, anytime literally the Toys R Us would bring out a pallet of Cabbage
Yeah.
Patch Kids, women would be, and moms and dads and whoever would be lined up to dive in and just scoop up as many as they could in their hands and try and fight off the punches
Wow.
of the rest of suburbia
That
to
was
try
a-
and get to the register. And I know this because Sarah, my wife, former guest host of the show, managed to get a Cabbage Patch Kid in 1983 because her mom hung out at the back because literally people were clawing at each other.
yeah.
And then a second pallet was being brought in behind that, and nobody saw that because they were too busy fighting for the one pallet that had been brought in.
Yeah.
So she was able to scoop one out and up and get the hell out of there.
Wow.
Very savvy.
I mean, there was it's actually called the Cabbage Patch Riots. There was one that happened in West Virginia, which, come on, guys, that involved it got so bad that the store manager had to get out an aluminum baseball bat and wield it to keep the angry throngs away from him. This is
Wow.
how this is a zombie movie is what this is. This is not getting a toy for
Well,
my
they
kid.
do that with Boone's Farm wine in West Virginia too.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. Really, that any excuse to start throwing some punches is
Yeah.
pretty good in West Virginia, I think.
I mean, I think it's a bit of a sidetrack, but the Garbage Pail Kids that came out of it were such a
Oh, yeah.
immediate, artistic reaction to it. The guy that did Mouse, the Pulitzer Prize winning graphic novel,
Sure.
was one of the two guys that created it. I guess
Was he really? Oh,
I didn't
wow.
know
The
that.
Garbage
Wow.
Pail Kids? Oh.
Yeah, he helped create it along with this other artist named John Pound,
Mhm.
and I guess they were involved in something called like Wacky Packages.
Yeah. Wacky
And
Packs.
I
those
think those were a little bit before my time, but I loved the Garbage Pail
Yeah.
Kids, and I had a binder full of them, and it was weird to see like, all of your favorite toys in one version. They're sweet and cuddly, and you're very respectful to them, and then this other version is they're just barfing all over each other.
Yeah. So
Well, and I think people who weren't around then don't understand just how insane people were for this. I have a list of a few things that happened during the 1983 run on Cabbage Patch Kids, if you don't mind. Someone actually went to London because he couldn't find a Cabbage Patch Kid, and they had him in London. So
Wow.
he flew to London. And this is 1983, where you just don't
Mhm.
go into Expedia.
yeah.
I mean, this was like you had to. His name was Donald Trump.
Yeah,
I'm
you could-
sure it was.
What?
No, it wasn't.
You
but-
could hop on the Lear jet back then, and
Yeah,
it was no
the
big
Concorde,
deal.
yeah.
The Concorde, that's
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
was.
Okay. By the way, Michael, according to Coleco, 20% of the dolls were purchased by boys.
Yeah.
So there you go. I guess I was
Wait,
I was
1
an
in
ass
10,
on that one.
1 in 10, 2 in 5. Those
What
ratios
what
are lining up.
What are you suggesting here? The Social Security Administration actually let state agencies know to be on the lookout for Cabbage Patch Kids that are applying for welfare.
Wait, dolls
Yeah,
that were applying for welfare?
yeah, apparently.
Is this adults who are legitimately submitting a? What are you saying?
I'm saying the federal Social Security Administration sent an alert to states saying, be on the lookout for Cabbage Patch Kids that are applying for welfare. Basically, yes. Parents who would claim a Cabbage Patch Kid as an actual
Wow. Oh my
kid.
God. Wow.
Yeah, Beatrice Laverne isn't a real name for a person.
You've each done Cabbage Patch, so Michael's going to go with his second.
My second, as the script gets flipped a little bit, it's along the same lines as a craze, and that was Tickle Me Elmo.
Who's giving everybody the giggles? It's Tickle Me Elmo. When your child
Ooh.
tickles
1996.
Ooh.
I never owned one, but I remember the stories of how insane it was. They weren't that expensive. I think that's part of it too. They were $28 or $29, and they were just underproduced and overhyped, specifically by like the Rosie O'Donnell show, who kind of talked about them on her show, and a lot of she and Oprah had that same sort of appeal of, I have branded myself as a liker of this thing, and the followers kind of followed suit.
Oh yeah.
And it's like a taste maker or a style maker or whatever, and all of a sudden this thing becomes hot, whether the kids think it's hot or they need to have it or not. I don't know. Did kids pay attention? I guess maybe kids paid attention to her show a little bit because it was kind of kid friendly.
Well, they were watching with their moms, probably, of that age group that actually liked Elmo. So if their mom was watching the show, they probably saw her on it.
This show doesn't have love for Elmo.
No, I actually thought about this one, and my loathing and hatred of Elmo, as we have discussed in previous episodes, was so strong that I could not bring myself to do it. We do actually. My family has a Elmo toy in the house. Actually, we have two. I take that back. One of them is a Night Elmo. When you hug him, he goes, Elmo's so sleepy.
I thought he's filled with ether. You just
Yeah.
inhale. My kid is out.
just shoots a little bit of whiskey right in your kid's mouth. It's just, time for you to go night. No, he goes, Elmo's so sleepy. And then plays 10 seconds of Rockabye Baby. Then the other one we have, which was one of the big hits a few years later, was the Let's Rock Elmo.
Oh.
Where he's got toys that you can put near him, like instruments. And if you got the instrument near him, it sounds like he's playing. And if he has bongos and his hands will move up and down. Yeah, that doesn't get... Batteries ran out on that one. And don't you know, it's just so hard to find those batteries for that nowadays. You guys know about the battery shortage, right?
Well, I thought what was interesting, it's just that these things seem to be cyclical, where, you didn't learn the lesson from 15 years before. Suddenly there's a shopping spree and a shopping riot, and people are stampeding over each other for, maybe one of 100 Elmos that are in a particular Toys R Us or whatever, and then the black market gets a hold of it, and you're suddenly flying to Denver and paying $7,100 for, a goddamn Tickle Me Elmo doll. And, just like the Cabbage Patch Kids, is these things become, they kind of worm their way into society, and they become suddenly super important. And I think the kids sense that too. They sense, I have to have this, and whatever innate parenting thing kicks in. It's like, well, if I love my kid, their Christmas is gonna be ruined. And
yeah, and I'll tell you one story that's similar to this. I'm assuming you don't have a Furby on your list, do you?
I do not.
Okay, so that was the big one.
I only had no Furby.
So there was the original Furby. It was when we were kids.
Yeah.
And then I guess this would have been about 3 years ago.
Furby 2: The Revenge.
Hipster Furby.
Yeah,
Wears a monocle.
It was a more electronic one, and it was you had to take care of it. It was kind of a cross between, it was a Furby, but with the Tamagotchi type stuff. And that was all Vivian wanted. I think she was 5 or 6 maybe. That was all she wanted. And we resisted getting it. Finally, we saw a sale on it. We're like, fuck it, better. That's the Santa gift. And by the way, spoiler alert, if you don't want your kids to know about the Santa gift and the real gift, you might want to fast forward for about a minute.
Okay, wait. I don't have kids, so.
So
But,
Jeff, you might want to step outside for about a minute.
Okay.
So we bought the thing. It was going to be the Santa gift. We're driving out to Tucson.
So your kids know that Santa gives them some presents and you give them some presents?
Yes,
there's
there's a big gift that is a Santa gift.
Okay.
And then there is our big gift that is whatever we got them, but usually the Santa gift's a little bit is the top one.
I do like that you're setting them up for a future of, well, we can't possibly afford this. Only Santa Claus can afford this. So in the future, when you turn 15, you're not getting a Santa gift because you know that Santa doesn't exist. So we're not getting you anything else that's that high priced either.
Well, so we were driving and we got about, I don't know, Palm Springs maybe even further than that, a little bit further. And I stopped to get gas. And I kind of was looking in the trunk. I was like, wait. And Vivian's in the car, so I can't say, Sarah, I don't see the Furby in here. The thing, it's not in here. Turns out we had left it at home.
Oh, no.
And now it's like we've already
That's
driven 2 hours.
brutal.
What do? Do we turn around and go back to get it? Couldn't get it shipped there in time because we were driving out like a day or two before. So we had to make that our gift and then scramble at the last minute to buy her a Santa gift. I can't remember. Whatever was our gift to her, we turned into the Santa gift.
Hey, jumper cables.
Hey, I know you've been talking you like pistachios. Look at all these pistachios. So the sidebar,
It's all weather antifreeze.
Yeah, come on.
hot
Thanks.
and cold. So of course now Vivian figured it out last year. So which is great because last year she got to be in on the helping Simon out with the presents and stuff like that. And I talked to her about it this year. Because the the shitty part was that she got the Furby, played with it for about a month and a half, ran out of batteries, never used it again. And so I was like, so you realized, Vivian, that this was your Santa gift a few years ago. Yeah, I know. So we're never getting you anything nice like that again. Hey, wait a second.
I love how Old Testament your house is. Okay, so I believe Richard is going to do his second, and then we'll do our break.
All right, so this is toys for boys in quotation marks because obviously anyone can play with anything.
That's right.
But when we were growing up, back in the not so enlightened 80s, toys for boys.
I gotcha.
And it's Transformers. Which are literally more than meets the eye.
Yes, they are.
So you guys all know what Transformers are. I didn't realize the history behind this. It was basically somebody saw it at a couple of things at a Tokyo toy show that had, toys that could change into different things. I guess it was Hasbro, that had Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
Went to it and said, hey, what if we did that, but like with cars? And in 1980, I want to say 1984, they actually relaxed the laws about promoting items within children's TV shows. Because for a while, you couldn't have a TV show that was based off of a toy because that was seen as not being educational enough.
It might have been a couple years before because Masters of the Universe came out in 83.
maybe,
I've got
yeah.
a great book. I think it's called like Mastering the Universe or something like that. That is a
Yeah.
complete breakdown of like the Mattel Masters of the Universe were really big on that cross branding of.
Yeah, G.I. Joe was the other big one,
Yeah.
too. That was like the first one of the first ones at least to really kind of go that whole route of his TV show. It was toys. There were comic books.
Philip
Sure.
Morris had Smoky Sam and his filtered friends.
His filtered friends with coffee.
It's Good Bell Coffee.
Yeah. Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing today?
Hey, Smokey. So Hasbro.
Yeah, Hasbro comes up with this idea and basically has to invent not just the toys, but this whole world behind the Transformers. So they come up with the ideas of the Autobots and the Decepticons and the whole 9 yards. And in 1984, they'll kind of just vomit this all out on
Yeah.
kids who just look. I'm going to make a confession here. I never had a Transformer.
Oh.
Not a single damn Transformer. Also did not have a GoBot at least.
Mm.
So, because there were those kids that, for whatever reason, they couldn't get the Transformer.
Yeah.
Or maybe their aunt thought that the she saw that thing on TV that everyone wanted. So I got you. It's just like it. Isn't this what you wanted?
Karate Turtles.
Yeah. It's like, no, that's great, but it doesn't. It's just a Hot Wheel. You got me a Hot Wheel.
No hot rod. No side swipe.
Yeah.
No star scream.
None of that. You know what? I just never got into the action figures, which is, seeing as though I'm known as a man of action today,
Right.
is very surprising.
Richard is 6'4", muscly, usually wearing tight clothes, camel gear.
One of the very
and has kung fu grip.
One of the very endearing things about Transformers, all of these things, whether it's G.I. Joe or He-Man or Star Wars figures, the collectability of them all and the completing of a series or what is available is always very intriguing. Like I remember, like the Transformers, there was like a poster that came in with like some of the bigger Transformers. Maybe it was like Optimus Prime, and you could unfold it, and you could see all of the different ones that you could get, not just the one that you have, but you're just like, oh my, yeah, I can get Bumblebee, and I could go get oh my god, I could get Soundwave there, and like all of them were so very like seeing them all laid out just kind of opened your mind to that sort of want of like I don't just have this one that I got that I really wanted. I want that next one too.
Yeah.
Well, and of course, as the years kind of went on, then Hasbro kind of realized, well, we can only sell so many Optimus Primes. There's like a saturation point where every kid's got an Optimus Prime. So then you need to start introducing all the Cousin Olivers of the Transformers set. You've got the Rodimus Prime or the Gaveltron or I do remember the Micromasters.
Oh, sure.
The smaller ones.
Yeah.
It's just, you just have to keep piling on these new sort of like subspecies of
sure,
toys.
you got to Generation 2 and you got to all the Dinobots, and then they realized that the Constructicons could come along and you could take your 5 toys and make them into one bigger toy, or you'd have the big they even had play sets for them that turned into different giant bigger, like they could always get bigger and you could always
I did have a Voltron.
Okay.
I did have the Voltron set. I guess that is the one action thing.
Did you have a Lionbot Voltron, or did you have the car one?
No, I have the Lionbot.
Yeah,
because Voltron is badass.
Yeah.
All right, so we have each registered 2 of our 4 choices, and we're going to take a brief break to let you know that you got a lot of time where you're not working around the holidays. You're sitting around, you're taking some days off because you got to use that stuff up for the new year. And what are you going to do? You're going to download all the back issues, all the back episodes of Mount Rushmore podcast, and you got a lot of time when you're on the internet, doing some shopping, some last minute searching for a reservation somewhere. And while you're doing that, download the past episodes of the Mount Rushmore podcast and rate and review them. Please give us that gift. We give you the gift of this podcast. You give us that gift of some ratings and some reviews and telling your friends about the Mount Rushmore podcast. Follow us at Mount Rushmore Podcast on Twitter, and go to our Facebook and hang around and maybe give us some suggestions towards episodes you'd like to hear in the new year, because we would love to address those. And we're back. And Michael is going to start with his third.
My third, I don't have kids yet. Gonna have a kid eventually.
He's gonna.
At some point, but I had to go to the source to find out what is the hot. So I went to talk to my sister and find out what she was getting for her daughter Keely. And she said, okay, what you have to check out
Hatchimals. The magic is in you to bring your Hatchimal
is
to
Hatchimals.
Oh yes, Vivian is on the Hatchimals.
Is she
train
on
too?
You mentioned Furby a few minutes ago, and this is
the same. That's right. Actually, that's where the conversation happened, because she wanted Hatchimals, and I said, Santa got you those Furby a few years ago, and God damn it, you used it for a month, and it was like 80. Okay.
How much gloating is motivated by Christmas at your home? Remember you were a child and you made that mistake? Remember?
Hey, it builds character.
So the Hatchimals are like this next level of annoying.
How does it
chattering.
work? I've seen pictures. What does it do?
So what it is, it's an egg that you get, and you don't know what's in the egg, but you have to play with the egg to hatch the egg, and you roll it around, and you pet this thing, and it makes these weird noises. And
wait, is this the sex talk, or is this the Hatchimals?
This is the Hatchimal.
Okay.
This is the Hatchimal in egg form.
Okay.
And after anywhere from like 10 minutes to half an hour, however long it takes to hatch this goddamn thing, I think they must have tested it with kids to find out what is the precise time that these kids get bored with this thing to, oh my God, there's a whole new toy inside of it.
Wow.
And eventually, this little plastic beak starts pecking its way out. Like it's inside the egg, it spins around, and it starts poking out.
Wow.
And these things pop out that kind of looks like this bird, dragon, furry thing that makes cute noises, and then you take care of it. And I thought, I was thinking about some of our other, that Marble Run thing that you got into?
Sure.
There is a creepy deep dive of Hatchimals egg hatching on YouTube. And I will forward you this link of this guy that is just opening 5 of these things at a time.
Is he like rolling him with his butt?
Is
that what he's doing?
It's just
cracking him with his ass.
It's just this hand, this arm that comes out from behind the camera and is futzing with them and playing with them, and it's got 2 million views. And
this podcast is the wrong thing. We got to be just hatching shit.
But I guess the point is that there is a whole new level of toys for kids this year. Mm-hmm. And if you don't get Hatchimals for your daughter or son,
you're an asshole.
You are a monster, and they will hate you for forever.
Hatchimals.
2016.
Wow.
Hatchimal.
Hatchimals.
It's an animal that you hatch it to pieces because it's so fucking annoying.
Well, not to spoil this for Vivian if she's listening, but I got her actual eggs.
It's an that she has to sit on.
I'm not going to tell her what eggs they are. Could be a bird. Could be snakes. Could be an alligator. Guess she'll find out.
Oh, I'm crawling with spiders. Merry Christmas.
That's what you get for not playing with your Furby. Thank you.
Lesson learned. Okay. Richard, what's your third?
So I am going to the Smarty Pants stuff. And it's the Rubik's Cube.
Sure, Sir Isaac Newton unraveled the mysteries of gravity. But could he have unraveled the mysteries of Rubik's Cube? 3 weeks ago, Judge Smith retired to her chambers with Exhibit A, Rubik's Cube.
Which
she hasn't been seen since.
Debuted in 1980. I think it had been around for a few years before that. It was actually invented in 1972 by this Hungarian guy.
It was just called Blocks then. It had 6 sides.
Didn't have a name to it. It was just
all one color.
Didn't have a name. Rubik hadn't put his name to it. It was just that cube.
It was called Mrs. Rubik is difficult to satisfy. You happy with this? Am I still failure?
Was there ever an animated TV series based on Rubik's Cube?
Yes.
Oh,
yes, there was.
I knew there was Cubert, which seemed very suspicious. But
there was Cubert, and that also played with the Pac-Man show.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. And there's also a Donkey Kong one too.
What do you do with a fucking Rubik's Cube as a cartoon? Okay, so part of you's yellow. All right, next.
It was called Rubik, the Amazing Cube.
Oh my God.
And he was a magic Rubik's Cube. It could fly through the air, had other powers, but only came alive if you matched up all the sides. Yeah, needless to say, that one lasted about 12 weeks. Oh, you know who did the opening theme for that, by the way?
Okay.
Can you guess? Take a guess. It is 1983. It is a crappy...
Tom Waits. Rubik. I was shaking hands with an Indian outside a liquor store with a one-armed bandit with an eye patch.
Somebody put the sides are on the wrong place.
Okay. I got 9 different colors on my face.
Okay, Jeff. So it's 1983. Crappy ABC TV cartoon, and all the characters are Hispanic. See if you can get this. Who did the theme song?
It's Cheech Marin.
Close. Menudo.
Menudo, yay! Oh, that's awesome.
And Ron Palillo, a.k.a. Horseshack, was the voice of Rubik.
Mr. Cutter.
Mr. Cutter. So, the actual thing itself, it is just the stupidest thing. It's just 3 by 3 kind of cube with the colors on each side. You just kind of match it up. Mm-hmm. And I cannot do this fucking thing to save my life. And I remember being a kid, and I was, not to brag too much, but I was in GATE, for the gifted and talented education in school. Okay. Not just gifted, but gifted
And
and talented.
talented. Okay.
And
Don't believe any of that. You were put behind a gate out in the barn. They just told you were in gate.
and threw a Rubik's Cube at me and said, have fun.
They
But no,
threw you
like-
broken carrots.
But like everyone would say, hey, bet you can do this. I'm like, no, because
No.
I have horrible spatial relations. My sense
Okay.
of spatial relations is just, I'm the type of person, if you, like, in high school, like, for homecoming, you'd put up, trying to make the signs, right, for the school. And they'd give me a sign and say, okay, have this say Vikings, because that was our school mascot. And I'd start drawing, and I'd get to about halfway to the end and realize that I'd completely run out of room.
Yeah.
And now the K and the S have to be totally squeezed
Mhm.
and look miserable.
And that impacted your Rubik's
Yeah,
capability?
because I think it's all like you have to be able
Uh-huh.
to see things like in 3 dimensions
Yeah,
and like
okay,
be
yeah.
able to figure out how that all works. And I just never had that ability.
Yeah. You are not a Korean or Indian teenager
Let me check.
to my visible.
No.
Have you seen like the world records for these things?
Yeah,
Where they can
3 or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like it
Blindfolded too. Some of them blindfolded.
There's a That's Incredible episode they did during the
Yeah.
craze that involved that.
That's like something like skateboarding that I thought went away for a while, then came back. It never went away. I don't think the Rubik's Cube.
Well, it did go away for a little bit, and then it came back. And then after a while, like they realized, I think, that everybody was getting bored of the 3x3. Do you remember they did like the
Yeah.
4x4
Yeah.
one and the 5x5
And the snake.
the snake, and there was like
Rubik's Cube snake was
hexagons and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
the Rubik's Cube snake one. I remember. I had a friend that had that one that was always really cool. Like it seemed more than just solving it into. Like it seemed more than it just being a puzzle to solve. It seemed like, oh, I can turn it into.
It was a building, sculpting tool.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
And well, of course, there's also plenty of opportunities for cheating here.
Yeah.
You could actually pop the squares off and then just put them back wherever you wanted to.
Mhm.
So, my previous statement about not being able to do this. Oh, I can make it look like I
Oh
can.
yeah.
I can pop those things and put it back
Yeah.
in, or you could just peel the stickers off and put
Yeah.
it back on. You only really do that once or twice.
Yeah.
Then it starts to peel off on its own, and like everyone kind of knows that the jig is up.
Yeah. So, okay, Michael, what's your fourth?
My last one is the best present that Ralphie Parker would
Oh.
receive or would ever receive.
The holy grail of Christmas gifts, the Red Ryder 200-shot range model air rifle.
I just thought this movie features this kid with this that exemplifies this undying need and want for a Christmas gift and something that all of this opposition he has built up in his head is against him. It's just perfect. He's got this quest, and this quest is this thing that he's been lusting after, and the movie opens with him trying to trick his mom into getting getting it for him, and she gives the eternal, oh well, you'll shoot your eye out, and he's lost, his heart
Yeah.
sunk, and he throughout the rest of the movie he runs into I guess I should back up if you haven't seen it. No, everybody's seen A
What the
Christmas.
hell? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Everyone's seen A Christmas Story. I think it's like this perfect little movie about where like kind of commercialism battles a kid's want versus his parents looking out for him, and
Mhm.
in spite of all that, he still gets it at the end. And it's just like you don't know if it's going to happen. All of the decks are stacked against him. His teacher is against him. Even Santa Claus kicks him down the slide and tells him, "No, you're gonna shoot your eye out, kid."
Yeah.
But I can watch this movie every year and not be dissatisfied
Yeah.
with it.
Great. Yeah. It's that toy. Is that a real toy?
Yes.
Yes. Is that? Do we think that he deserves it? Do we think the people? Because I kind of in the movie think he loves this thing, but he's a bumbling idiot of a kid, and he is going to shoot his eye out with this thing.
Well, he almost did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But who's to say that anyone deserves that?
Yeah.
The presents they get as a 10-year-old.
Right.
It's just this. It's this. It could have been a bike, but it happened. Bikes are as dangerous as guns. Oh well, I guess. Well, I don't know. Maybe not.
In 3 years, that
BB gun.
that the same affection and longing that he has that can't be explained, that he couldn't quit if he wanted to, will be transferred to a golden-haired young woman who sits next to him in school or something like that. But he does have such longing and affection for that thing. So, Richard, what's your fourth?
Okay, so my last one, this is in the what the fuck category, and it's Pet Rocks.
Oh, wow.
So Pet Rocks was, when you talk about craze, this is one that lasted for a very specific and narrow part of time. Basically, mid-1975 to the beginning of 1976. Someone named, I almost said Steve Dahl. He's the guy who is involved with the Rock and Roll Disco Demolition guy. That's not him, though.
Oh.
Gary Dahl, on the other hand, not named Dahl, D-O-L-L. That would be pretty good, like Lorenzo did music from a previous episode. He was a freelance advertising person, which basically meant he was unemployed. He lived up in he lived up in Northern California, had like a little ramshackle kind of like cabin in the woods, and he was out with a few friends one time at a bar in 1975, and they were talking about pets. And he said, "Well, I've got a pet. It's a pet rock. Yeah, it's the perfect pet. You don't have to feed it. You don't have to clean it. Don't have to walk it. Don't have to do anything." Ha, ha, ha.
Professional shyster is what this guy is.
Grifter, I think, is the
there you
proper
go.
term.
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti might play him in the movie.
Right. And kind of got the idea of, hey, this might actually be a kind of funny gift. So he went and he could buy these smooth stones that they sold from Rosarito Beach in Mexico that were being sold down the street from him at like a Home Depot type place, which cost him about $0.01 each. And he packaged it with some straw. It cost him about another 2-3 cents each. Put it in a box that said Pet Rock, and then had an instruction manual for the care of your pet rock, which I have found, and it was really fun. It's actually very funny. It tells you about all the tricks you can do with your pet. For example, it can play dead. It can sit. It can roll over, but usually it needs some help from its master to be able to do that. It can be an attack pet rock. Once again, usually needs some help from its master to be able to become an attack pet rock. So it's like little jokey stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he kind of manufactured it thinking, okay, it'd be funny if it kind of, a few people bought this. In the 6 months between when it was released through December 1975, they sold 1.5 million of these. It's a rock. They sold 1.5 million rocks.
Did it have a Xavier Roberts tattoo on the butt of the rock as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, what time was when?
Came
what
with
year was
adoption
it?
papers.
75.
75. Wow.
And it was like this thing where, it's $4 each. And this thing couldn't have cost more than $1 total to put together. So it's just, he became a millionaire multiple times over for selling people a rock.
Did he move on to do anything else?
Well, he
Any other big time cons?
no, he did not, and he wound up opening up a bar with some of the proceeds called Carry Nations.
Huh.
Get it? Ha ha ha. And that was about it. He said he kind of shrank from the spotlight a little bit because
Can't top rock. Done.
Well, he did try to do things like the original sand breeding kit, where you could grow your own sand. That didn't go over too well. Another one was
those are just smaller rocks.
Yeah, exactly.
The 70s were full of these people that I can imagine him and the Rainbow Head guy and the Unknown Comic just sitting around
and
saying...
some like the transcendental meditation guy and some Hare Krishnas maybe.
Yeah, and maybe Ron Popeil, just all kind of sitting and going, man, we had a pretty good thing, didn't we?
Oh, man.
And people are idiots, aren't they?
So he wound up kind of shrinking from the spotlight because people would come up to him and pitch him like the stupidest pet rock type thing as possible. And he'd definitely, I'm not interested in investing more. I made my money. Fuck off.
Yeah. Wow. That's super trippy. So, okay, these gentlemen have each registered their 4 holiday hot items, and I love this trip down nostalgia lane and memory lane that we've gone through. And one, I don't know if I mentioned this on another episode of this podcast because it's one thing that's fascinating for me as I pick my hot toy, and that is the Slinky. I'm kind of fascinated by second chapters that some of these toys have. Like we've seen Transformers come back recently in movie form and succeed, even though it doesn't seem like they've succeeded. They've gone into like their 4th sequel of bad movie.
Some of these things just can't be killed.
Yeah, And then
Transformers.
battleships.
Well, actually, Slinkies can be killed. Just get it tangled up a little bit, and
Yeah.
that thing's fucked.
Well, that was
Let's
my
see you go upstairs, stupid coil.
That was my choice, the Slinky, and I had read a little bit about the history of it, and it was invented by this gentleman who had based it on a coil that he'd seen come out of a clock. I think it was on a submarine or some kind of ship, and saw the fun kind of activity that it did. And then, like the Hudsucker proxy, he invents this toy,
Right.
markets it, for kids, and goes crazy, leaves his wife with all the debt. He joins a cult in South America, and his wife is stuck with the Slinky business and has to somehow try to get out of debt. And so she invents a jingle. It walks downstairs alone or in pairs for fun. It's a wonderful toy.
It's log. It's big. It's heavy. It's wood. Is that it?
Not log. It reboots the Slinky franchise. I think she also invented the Slinky dog and these other things too that were the second chapter of Slinky. So
Hey, real quick before we get on to the winner loser thing, I'd be curious to hear everyone's if they had a toy that they wanted as a kid. That
Oh,
they
yeah.
didn't get.
yeah,
I'll tell you mine. It was the electric football game.
the vibrating table that
Yeah.
goes,
Not the one that was plugged into a socket that just electrocuted you.
not the
Yeah, it was just a
electronic, the
football.
handheld electronic.
No, it was the one that you would plug.
Yeah.
It was the vibrating one that you
Yeah.
would put in, and they have like the little like figures of football players, and then they would vibrate and move down. And on the ads, it made it seem like the coolest GD thing
Yeah.
possible. And my parents are always like, "No, we're not going to get that for you. It's really lame. Your cousin had it. It broke after like a week, and even when it works, all it does you see figures of football players like falling down and
Yeah.
vibrating on a
Yeah,
box.
they just spin in a circle. The quarterback just spins around. We had one, and it was just
It's just the worst. It's the worst thing ever. That's like one time I will say that my parents saved me from
Yeah, good
myself.
call.
Yeah, good job, guys.
I do wonder about the provenance of that toy. A guy who works at the vibrator factory gets a piece of sheet metal, spray paints it green. He goes,
I got an idea.
"See you assholes! I'm quitting. I'm going to be a millionaire by Christmas."
I didn't really have something that I crazily needed to have until I saw a friend that had it. And we were kind of talking about this before the podcast, but like the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Oh, sure.
When it first came out in 85, my friend Josh Burke came back from New York with, and I think I've even mentioned this on the pod, he came back with the system and Rob the Robot and all of these games. And I remember just being like, oh my God, this is amazing. Because it was like 85 before it really was released nationally.
Yeah.
And it was only at like FAO Schwartz in New York, and his parents had money, obviously.
Yeah, there's like their test market was New York.
So for like the next couple of years was just like, I need to have one of these. And it ended up, I rolled up a bunch of my mom's pennies that she'd saved over the years. She would bring home pennies that she'd spit on 3 times as lucky pennies. And she put them in a giant, like, 5-gallon water jug.
Sure.
And I spent the time to roll up something like $90 worth of her
Oh,
spat
wow.
on pennies to turn into cash.
Your mom was a gypsy.
How Dixonian of her, you know?
Your mom's a gypsy? What's the spitting?
Yeah, a little
Okay, all right.
Austrian,
It was just,
right?
yeah, just for good luck.
Close.
Okay, sure.
And it was just one of those things that I saw a Christmas toy that I wanted, and then I didn't really work for it. I guess I did. I put the effort into try to get it sometime later.
I didn't put NES on my list, and I talked to Michael about this, that I was thinking about it just because we've talked about NES so many times on the show already. But I will tell my NES story, which is I did get one, I guess it was in 86 or 87, and it was actually a joint gift for my brother and I, my brother who is 9 years older than me.
No, you were never playing that thing.
Worked out pretty good until about 3-4 years later when my brother decided to leave home and go to San Francisco with his girlfriend at the time. And to be able to afford bus fare and everything else, he pawned off a bunch of stuff, including my
Oh, no.
RNES,
Oh my God.
That's
and
sad.
went to San Francisco and then moved back 2 weeks later
Oh.
because it didn't work out.
Oh.
And then I never saw that NES again.
Oh, that's awful.
Well, it's a good thing that the new NES is out with the same 60 games or the same 30 games that you can get. And the price is online jacked up to $250.
I don't understand this, you guys. Just go to your local, you can go online, you get an actual NES and the games you want. And it's cheaper than getting this thing.
Don't they have an emulator for iPhone or something?
Yeah,
or
you can
on
play
computer,
all-
play
you
any
can-
game you want.
Yeah.
Idiots.
I was a weird kid in that for some reason, I liked toys, but I loved cheese. I asked for a Pepperidge Farms cheese set of all the different cheeses.
My God.
I was so ecstatic getting something that was probably reserved for elderly people or something. Different types of
This is Kansas. This is what you get.
Listen, I know,
smoked Gouda.
Jeff, I know in a second you're going to declare one of us the winners,
Yeah.
but
You're
Richard,
really the
Richard, I
winner.
think you need to be the winner.
I'm the real loser.
Most other kids went through the best catalog or the Sears catalog and circled what they want. Jeff went through the Pepperidge Farms catalog and
Farms.
circled what he
that's
wanted.
great.
Well, I will dub the winner now, and I'm just amazed how these gentlemen, even though the categories are different, often their logic remains the same. And what I love about this show and working on it is seeing these guys lend their scrutinizing eye towards these different categories. And even though, like I said, the categories are different, usually the way they come at it is the same. And Richard, I think, really kind of figured out how people hacked Christmas. There's a lot of stuff that here where, like the pet rock guy scamming, or Rubik's Cube guy coming up with an invention that's going to be successful in the hands of some and create mischief in the hands of others. Transformers even kind of analyzing how Hasbro thought of the marketing and the content and the toy at the same time. And of course, they both went down that road with Cabbage Patch Kids. But so I think Richard, as culture analyst, did a great job doing that. But I'm going to give it to Michael because Christmas is kind of about your relationship as a young person with these toys. And they are just objects, but they really contain the spirit of the holidays for you, and they mean a lot to you. And when he brought up Ralphie, it kind of sealed the deal in terms of the kids' love for this toy, and then the nurturing feeling that we might have towards a Hatchimal or a Tickle Me Elmo, and of course, Michael's unabashed desire to let us know that Cabbage Patch Kids can be for boys too, gosh darn it, and boys can love a doll just as much as a girl. So I'm going to give it to him for that, because in that, as much as holidays are about emotion and Christmas is about love, he certainly loved all those toys. I know Richard did too, but maybe he loved how they scammed everybody just as much.
Says something about our respective personalities.
Yeah, it totally
I believe.
does. Okay, so happy holidays, everybody. This has been the Mount Rushmore podcast. I'm Jeff.
I'm Richard.
I'm Michael.
Hey, we can say Merry Christmas now, guys.
Oh, thank God.
Thank Trump.
Thank you, Trump.
Thank you, Trump.